History. A canvas painted with the colors of oppression and resistance. Today, that canvas remains vivid, marred by the struggle against oppressive governments. From the echoes of the past to the cries of the present, the question emerges like a beacon of dissent. How do we confront injustice? Do we retreat into the shadows, sabotage the system, or brandish weapons of defiance? It's a question that has echoed through generations, finding its answers in the trenches of history in the words of luminaries. One such luminary is Henry David Thoreau, a name you might recognize as the author of the 1849 essay Civil Disobedience, a manifesto that stands as a cornerstone of modern democratic protest movements. Welcome to Humanitas Libertas. In this episode, we dive into the depths of Thoreau's wisdom, exploring his philosophy of civil obedience, his stance on just resistance, and the echoes of his ideas in today's world. I'm your host, the Socratic Voyager. And in the spirit of the great thinkers of the past, we're about to embark on a journey of insight and contemplation. We're about to traverse the paths of history and philosophy, where the thirst for knowledge meets the fervor of justice. Join me as we unravel the layers of Thoreau's radical thoughts, peeling back the veneer of reputation to reveal the essence of philosophy. Together, we'll navigate the corridors of civil disobedience, a document that urges us to ponder the limits of government, the boundaries of justice, and our role in the grand tapestry of human freedom. So, fellow seekers of truth, buckle up for a journey into the heart of ethical dilemmas, the realm of just resistance, and the corridor of Thoreau's unyielding ideals. Let's begin our exploration of civil disobedience as we delve into the words that have ignited the flames of change and the challenge across time. Get ready to witness history's whispers converging with the echoes of today. Welcome to Humanitas Libertas. Our journey begins with a profound question that echoes through the corridors of history and reverberates in the present day. How do we respond when faced with the weight of oppression, when the walls of injustice close in around us? We stand on the precipice of an ethical crossroads. As the iron grip of oppressive governments bears down on their citizens, a moral dilemma emerges: to submit or resist. It's a dilemma that has haunted humanity throughout ages, as the forces of power and the pursuit of justice collide. Imagine yourself in the shoes of those brave souls who take a stand against the tide of oppression. They're faced with a choice. How do they fight back? Do they resort to underground activities, orchestrating covert movements? Do they embrace sabotage to disrupt the gears of the oppressive machinery? Or do they even take up arms to defend their rights and freedom? However, the path to resistance is not clear-cut. Each approach carries its own risks and consequences as the line between liberation and chaos blurs. It's a question of strategy, of principles, and of what it truly means to be a conscientious dissenting citizen. In history's annals, we find glimpses of the courage and sacrifices made by those who dared to challenge oppression. Take the example of Sophie Scholl and the White Rose Resistance in Nazi Germany. Their leaflets dared to speak against the tyrannical regime, but their defiance came at a heavy price. Sophie and her brother Hans paid with their lives. Likewise, in the fight for civil rights, we can't ignore the sacrifice of Medgar Evers, who stood against racial segregation in the United States. His commitment to justice led to his assassination, a tragic testament to the lengths oppressive forces will go to maintain their grip. From the suffragettes who endured imprisonment and force-feeding for women's rights, to the Tiananmen Square protesters who faced violent crackdowns in their quest for democracy, history teaches us that the road to justice is often paved with personal risks. These stories remind us that the choice to resist is not just about defiance. It's about standing firm against the currents of oppression, even when the tides are the strongest. So, my fellow thinkers, as we embark on this intellectual journey, let's reflect on the stories of courage, on the choices made in the face of tyranny. In the chapters ahead, we'll delve deeper into the philosophies that guide these choices, seeking to unearth the essence of right and wrong, of just and unjust resistance. Venturing deeper into the realm of philosophical dissent, we encounter a figure whose thoughts cut through the fabric of convention, making him a beacon for those seeking a different path. Allow me to introduce you to Henry David Thoreau and his essay, Civil Disobedience, a masterpiece that still resonates in the heart of modern democratic protest movements. Thoreau's philosophy is a fusion of defiance and contemplation, not a passive acceptance of the status quo. It rests at the intersection of right libertarianism and left anarchism, carving out a space that challenges the norm. Thoreau's beliefs are captured in two audacious declarations: that government is best which governs least, and the even bolder, that government is best which governs not at all. Thoreau's thoughts are radical in the truest sense, encouraging us to scrutinize the role of government in our lives and question its extent. He viewed government as a tool to be wielded judiciously, not an entity to dictate our every move. His rejection of oppressive restrictions on trade, regulations, and standing armies isn't mere disdain. It's a passionate plea for individual autonomy and the flourishing of a truly free society. Thoreau's journey to this radical stance was paved with contemplation and observation. He witnessed the mechanics of power, saw its impact on the lives of individuals, and realized that true freedom could only flourish when the shackles of an overbearing government were cast aside. His immersion in the Transcendentalist movement farther fueled his conviction that the individual's relationship with nature was sacred. Thoreau's time at Walden Pond exemplified his commitment to this belief, as he sought a life of simplicity and self-sufficiency. You see, the Transcendentalist movement, a 19th century philosophical and literary movement, championed the idea of transcending conventional societal norms and institutions to connect with a higher truth through individual intuition and direct experience of nature. Thinkers like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau believed the inherent goodness of people and nature, emphasizing the importance of self-reliance, simplicity, and an unmediated relationship with the natural world. Walden Pond, a serene body of water surrounded by woodlands, played a pivotal role in Thoreau's journey of self-discovery and philosophical reflection. Seeking to live deliberately and explore a life of reduced materialism, Thoreau spent 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days living in a small cabin near Walden Pond. During his time at Walden Pond, Thoreau sought to strip away the distractions of modern life and connect with the rhythms of nature. He engaged in contemplative activities like observing the changing seasons, studying the diverse flora and fauna, and recording his thoughts in journals. This immersion in nature not only nurtured his transcendentalist beliefs, but also provided him with a profound understanding of the essential relationship between individual freedom, simplicity, and the natural world. Thoreau's experiences at Walden Pond greatly influenced his philosophical outlook, including his radical stance on government and civil disobedience. His time there, underscored by the importance of personal autonomy and living in harmony with nature, concepts that would later find expression in his essay, Civil Disobedience. But Thoreau's philosophy wasn't about empty rebellion. It was about realizing the potential of humanity when freed from the chains of excessive governance. His ideas, rooted in the richness of human experience and guided by principles of justice, inspire us to this day. So, as we contemplate Thoreau's stance, let's remember that his legacy challenges us to reflect on the role of government in our own lives, to envision a society where freedom and justice coexist, and to question the boundaries that define our liberties. As we continue our exploration of Thoreau's philosophy, we delve into the heart of his vision for a just society. Thoreau's perspective isn't just about dismantling government. It's about reshaping it into a better form, one that upholds individual freedom and embraces the concept of self-governance. Thoreau's clarion call wasn't necessarily for no government, but for a better government. He recognized that the essence of governance lay not in its omnipresence, but in its service to the well-being of its citizens. He eloquently stated, "To speak practically and as a citizen, unlike those who call themselves no government men, I ask for, not at once, no government, but at once a better government." Thoreau's vision of a better government wasn't an abstract ideal. It was rooted in his belief in radical democracy. Central to Thoreau's philosophy was his unwavering stance on what constitutes injustice. He declared, "When the friction comes to have its machine, and oppression and robbery are organized, I say, let us not have such a machine any longer." Thoreau recognized that a government that systematically fosters oppression and robbery is inherently flawed and needs to reform. His conviction on just resistance is vividly exemplified by his views on rebellion and revolution. Thoreau believed that rebellion is urgent when oppression and robbery are systematically orchestrated. It's a call to arms for honest men to stand up and transform their society. To understand Thoreau's urgency, we can look at historical examples that fueled his beliefs. Take the Mexican-American War and the Fugitive Slave Act, two instances Thoreau found intolerably unjust. He saw a sixth of the population enslaved and a nation conquered by foreign armies. He recognized that these injustices couldn't be endured and called for immediate action. Thoreau's thoughts on rebellion and revolution might have ignited sparks rather than massive movements during his time, but his words laid the foundation for future leaders of nonviolent resistance like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. In our journey through Thoreau's philosophy, we find a call for just resistance against entrenched oppression, a demand for a better government that respects individual freedom, and a challenge to confront injustice head-on. It's a call to engage with the levers of change, to seek a path that transforms society for the better. As we immerse ourselves in the depths of Thoreau's philosophy, we uncover his distinctive approach to civil disobedience, a method not of blind defiance, but of strategic resistance. Thoreau saw civil disobedience as a counter-friction, a deliberate effort to halt the oppressive machine and create a rupture in its momentum. Thoreau's perspective on civil disobedience is epitomized in his own words. "I do not hesitate to say that those who call themselves abolitionists should at once effectually withdraw their support, both in person and property, from the government of Massachusetts." His call to withdraw support is a call to disrupt the machine, to introduce friction into its working. Thoreau's philosophy is far from passive. It's an active resistance that challenges the very foundations of oppressions. He himself put his principles into action when he refused to pay his poll tax in protest against the Mexican-American War and the expansion of slavery. Thoreau's bold act of not paying his poll tax wasn't a mere refusal to contribute to the government's revenue. It was a symbolic act that echoed his refusal to support the government engaged in unjust actions. His stand against the war and slavery was a stance for justice, a commitment to aligning his actions with his principles. Thoreau's view on unjust laws was crystal clear. "Unjust laws exist," he wrote. "I say, break the law. Let your life be a counter-friction to stop the machine." He believed that individuals had a moral obligation to resist laws that perpetuated injustice. But Thoreau's perspective on civil disobedience doesn't end with lawbreaking. He goes deeper into the realm of civic responsibility. He dissects the nature of voting and elections, with a discerning eye, of course, asserting that true change doesn't come solely from casting ballots. See, he challenged the notion that voting alone can bring about substantial change. He wrote, "All voting is a sort of gaming. Only his vote can hasten the abolition of slavery who asserts his own freedom by his vote." Thoreau urged voters to go beyond the ballot and assert their principles through their actions. In Thoreau's world, civil disobedience wasn't just a method, it was a moral imperative. It was about recognizing the power of individual actions to reshape the course of society, about transforming the gears of oppression into the gears of justice. As we delve deeper into Thoreau's philosophical landscape, we encounter a dimension of nuance, a perspective that acknowledges the complexity of resistance and the delicate balance between principles and practicality. Thoreau's approach to resistance was not a blanket rejection of all government actions. He navigated the intricate terrain of just and unjust taxes, distinguishing between those that support the greater good and those that perpetuate oppression. Thoreau recognized that not all government activities were equally harmful. He acknowledged the value of community taxes that supported essentials like schools and highways. Actually, he wrote, "For it matters not how small the beginning may seem to be. What is once well done is done forever." This wasn't an endorsement of unreserved compliance. Rather, it was a recognition that certain taxes could serve as the common welfare. Thoreau's philosophy balanced his resistance against oppressive taxes with his commitment to communal progress. Thoreau's recommendation for resistance wasn't a call to recklessness. He advocated for discerning and thoughtful action. He understood that effective resistance required more than just mere defiance. It necessitated a strategic approach. He actually wrote, "He who gives himself entirely to his fellow men appears to them useless and selfish, but he who gives himself partially to them is pronounced a benefactor and a philanthropist." Thoreau's words echo the importance of calculated choices that maximize impact. In Thoreau's nuanced world, resistance wasn't a monolithic force. It was about understanding the intricacies of the system and navigating its corridors with strategic intent. As we absorb the nuances of Thoreau's philosophy, let's recognize that resistance isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. It's about weighing the consequences, embracing the shades of gray, and crafting a path that's both principled and pragmatic. As we navigate the labyrinth of Thoreau's philosophy, we encounter a profound insight into the dynamics of resistance, an insight that unveils the immense power residing within the very fabric of the disempowered. You see, Thoreau astutely observed that the mantle of resistance often rests upon the shoulders of the poor and the marginalized. He recognized that those who bear the heaviest burdens of oppression are often the ones who rise against it. Thoreau's words resound with significance. Those who assert the purest right and consequently are the most dangerous to a corrupt state commonly have not spent much time accumulating property. He acknowledged that those with fewer material possessions were often the ones with the most powerful convictions. Thoreau's recognition of this paradox underscores a profound truth. The least powerful often pose the greatest threat to the state. Their lack of material wealth can be an armor, shielding them from the shackles of complacency and aligning them with the unbreakable force of justice. This paradox stems from the fact that the disempowered, the unburdened by the trappings of the system, stand unafraid to challenge its norms. Their power lies not in physical strength, but in the audacity to assert their rights against the corrupt state. Thoreau's perspective reminds us that courage to resist isn't confined to the privileged or the powerful. It resides with each individual who refuses to be silenced. It's a call to recognize the potency of principled action, irresponsive of one's societal standing. As we embrace the power of the disempowered, let's remember that history is a testament to the revolution sparked by those society deemed powerless. Their voices, their actions, and their refusal to yield have shaped the course of nations. Thoreau's insight teaches us that the seeds of change are sown by those who dare to confront injustice, regardless of their social stature. In his words, it is a sort of higher poverty that they who have not, giving to them that have. Okay, so as we approach the culmination of Thoreau's philosophy, we encounter a profound perspective, one that magnifies the power of the individual and challenges the very foundation of authority. Thoreau believed that the threads of individual power could unravel the tapestry of oppressive governance. He championed the idea that ordinary people possess the ability to deny the authority of the state by steadfastly refusing to yield to its threats. Thoreau's bold assertion was rooted in his understanding that the state's strength doesn't solely rely on its institutions, but on the acquiescence of individuals. He articulated, "If the machine of government is of such nature that it requires you to be the agent of injustice to another, then, I say, break the law." Thoreau's insight was revolutionary. He recognized that the state's authority is at its core derived from individuals. And actually, he observed, the state never intentionally confronts a man's sense, intellectual or moral, but only his body, his senses. His vision extended beyond defiance. He envisioned a transformation of the very fabric of governance. He wrote, "I think that we should be men first, and subjects afterward." Thoreau's words are a clarion call for individuals to assert their inherent power and claim their rights. Thoreau envisioned a state that recognized individuals as higher and independent powers, powers from which the state derives its very authority. He posted, "When men are prepared for it, that will be the kind of government they will have." As we stand on the principle of understanding Thoreau's philosophy, let's internalize his message. The foundation of governance rests upon us, the individuals. Our refusal to be agents of injustice, our unwavering commitment to principles, can shape society where the state bows to the power of the people. In Thoreau's realm, we find not just a call for resistance, but an invitation to recognize the potency of the individual. His philosophy leaves us with a resounding truth. True power resides within us, waiting to be harnessed for the greater good. As we conclude our journey through the tapestry of Thoreau's philosophy, we find ourselves immersed in a world of radical thought, principled action, and the unyielding belief in the power of the individual. Thoreau's legacy reminds us that the pursuit of justice requires more than just rhetoric. It demands a commitment to challenging injustice in every facet of our lives. Thoreau's philosophy isn't just a relic of the past. It's a guiding light for navigating the complexities of our own world. It teaches us that in the face of oppression, we have the agency to resist, the responsibility to challenge, and the audacity to demand a better government that serves the true welfare of its citizens. So as we continue on our journey through the corridors of history, philosophy, and the pursuit of knowledge, let us carry with us the spirit of Thoreau, the spirit that compels us to question, to resist, and to stand firm against injustice. Together, we can forge a world that embraces the power of critical thought, the resilience of principle, and the indomitable strength of the individual. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Thoreau's wisdom, and for embarking on a journey of critical thought, philosophy, and the pursuit of knowledge. If you found value in this discussion, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Humanitas Libertas for more enlightening conversations. Remember, the power to reshape our world lies within each one of us. Until next time, may you continue to seek the truth, challenge norms, and be the driving force for positive change. I'll see you on the next one.